Hey, 420 investors. I'm very happy to have with me today Jay Czarkowski from Boulder. He is one of my leading sources of information. He's very plugged into the industry at Canna Advisors, very big in NCIA. How you doing, Jay?
Ellen, good afternoon. Good to talk to you today.
Yes, this is our first time to do it. We talk a lot, but this is our first time to do a recording. God, we've known each other. I know we met face-to-face in January, but it's been, I guess, almost 2 years, and I really appreciate all the help you've given me during that time.
Absolutely.
So what I'd like to do today, Jay, is given your breadth in the industry, and I know, I think, weren't you just in Chicago for the conference, if I'm not mistaken?
We were indeed.
So how did that go? We're going to talk about that first, and then we'll cover some of the other states. But let's start with Illinois and, I guess, lead off with the conference. What was that all about?
Sure. The MJ Business Daily, who, of course, were the first group to put on a national business conference back in November 2012. They've been putting on these national business conferences on an annual basis. This was their first mid-year conference. So they're taking the step to go from one conference to two a year. Nobody was quite sure how it was going to work out, but they had over 2,000 attendees, so I'd say it was a success.
That was bigger than the Vegas one then, right?
No, Vegas was just at about the 3,000 mark.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was not able to make it to Illinois. I heard some really good feedback, but was it really Illinois-centric or really more of a national conference?
No, it was certainly a national conference.
Got it. And so you guys were successful in Illinois. What exactly is your status there with your customers and what's going on in Illinois?
Sure. We were successful in getting one of our clients a cultivation license and another one a dispensary license. I believe everybody in Illinois is in the same boat right now. They are working feverishly to, especially on the cultivation side, with the 6-month deadline to get a facility built and operational. Everyone's working feverishly to make that happen.
And was your facility downstate or close to Chicago?
Downstate.
Got it. And on the cultivation side, it doesn't matter. You can transfer that anywhere in the state, right?
Well, the cultivation, yeah, that is correct. No matter where you're cultivating, you could supply any and all dispensaries in the state of Illinois.
Got it. And where is the dispensary that your licensee won?
It was closer to Chicago.
Got it. And so do you think that market was a terrible medical marijuana market before this new program, but how would you rate it right now compared to some of the others?
You know, it's still going to have a low rating, Alan. It's a stepping stone out there for sure. The final bill and the final regulations, they make it difficult for a patient, a sick person to access the medicine. Right now, if you are a sick person, if you have cancer, any of the other maladies that are allowed, and you want to access marijuana or any cannabis products for treatment, they still treat you like somewhat of a criminal. You have to go through a background check in Illinois. You even have to be fingerprinted. You can go to the doctor and to the pharmacy and get all the pharmaceutical medication you want, but if you want to use a safer alternative, cannabis, they're making it very difficult for the patients.
So they expanded the indications, but they're still making them jump through hoops. Correct.
Now, will that ease up over time? Absolutely. You know, a lot of these initial bills that are passed, the bill and the regulations maybe aren't very favorable to patients because the folks that are putting forth the bill, they need to appease some of the politicians that are maybe against it. But certainly once the program takes hold, I'm sure it will loosen up, and I'm sure amendments will be passed to make it easier for patients to access medication.
And then one last question before we jump to a different state. I think there are 21 cultivation facilities that were approved. I don't think they're all going to make it, I would imagine, right? There's probably too many. Is that accurate, or for at least initially?
I wouldn't say too many. It really depends on the ultimate, patient count. Certainly, with the difficult process they're putting people through, we're not talking about a lot of patients right now. The last I heard, the patient count was less than 3,000 statewide.
Ow. That's pathetic. All right. Well.
Question: will all 21 make it? Probably not, but I think most will.
Okay. Well, let's go to a different state. I think the one where I saw you last, maybe, and that's Nevada. That program is advancing. I know you have one of your clients, I think, was one of the two right now that's ready to go. Euphoria Wellness, is that correct?
That is correct. We work with multiple groups in Nevada. They're all at various stages right now in terms of build out and ability to open up shop. Euphoria is built out and ready to go. I believe they received their state inspection. They've been waiting for a testing lab to open, of course, because no medication could be sold under the medical marijuana program without it being tested.
Now yeah, and they got that. That's done. They did that.
Yep, that's done. So I would expect that we'll see the first legal dispensary sales to patients in Nevada in the next couple of weeks.
That's awesome, because I know we'll talk about Massachusetts in a minute. It's amazing to me that Nevada's going to beat Massachusetts, but I know you're on top of all these bills. There's a lot of things that are changing. I personally think that Nevada did a very good job of kind of watching what some of the other states did and then trying to do it better. And they did a good job. Obviously, they ran into that one issue between state versus county. But beyond that, what's going on with the program right now from your viewpoint?
You know, there are three pieces of legislation that are going through the state legislature right now. And I agree with you that the program has moved fast because the people want it, the politicians wanted it, certainly big business wanted it, so it's moving forward, which is a good thing. One of the bills, AB 70, going through right now, from what I understand, the sole purpose is just to protect existing medical marijuana businesses from excess fees and taxes at the local jurisdiction level. Another bill going through right now is to serve the purpose of, which is big. They're looking to actually possibly eliminate or change the limit on dispensaries.
Right.
As well as fix the issue of ownership change. Right now, you can't legally have more than, I think if you were to have an ownership change right now, it has to be less than 10%. That's actually causing some existing businesses problems right now. Typically post-license, you'll see groups possibly have a falling out with partners that they were okay with pre-license. That bill should allow for larger percentages of ownership change. And then SB 447 was going to make a number of things happen. There was an original issue with it where they were looking to ban extracts. That's been fixed. Just looking at my notes here. They're looking to put forth some language that would allow for changes in location, and that would also define and establish regulation for delivery, which is big.
Right.
But
yeah.
The biggest win in SB 447 is it extends the out-of-state reciprocity for an additional 3 years.
Right. So I don't know if you've given a lot of thought to it. I don't know your thoughts if you have, but I have some thoughts about Nevada in terms of the patient count. Right now, the last data out there was 9,000 cardholders, and I can understand. I think it costs $150 all in to get that card, and if you can't buy it, why get registered? So that's why that number is low right now. But what are your thoughts in terms of how big that market could get over time and how quickly it could get there, the way it's structured now, Jay?
Sure. I think it's a great program right now that's only going to get better. The fact that they have out-of-state reciprocity is going to open up their industry to Californians, of course, the state right next door where there are 1 million cardholders,
right,
and all of us in Colorado and folks from all over the country. So, not to mention the fact that in 2016, it's already a foregone conclusion that legalization is going to be on the ballot. Clearly, it will pass. So, I think if Nevada continues down the path they're on, their industry has every opportunity to be at least as robust as our industry here in Colorado, if not better.
Yeah, I'd go on the record and say if Nevada is able to get its program implemented in early 2018, and California fails to do, to get their vote through in 2016, Nevada could be the cannabis capital of the country, at least for a while.
Certainly.
So it sounds like Nevada, the medical program is going to be better than a lot of the states because all the thought that went into it. But the real driver is going to be if it goes recreational.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the East Coast, starting with Massachusetts. I know you've been involved out there. What are your thoughts on that program? I'm hearing that they're finally addressing some of these big issues. Is it too little, too late, or is there going to be improvement out there?
No, I don't think it's ever too little, too late, because no matter what state you're in, and no matter what law or opportunity you have, it's a stepping stone. It is dysfunctional as the program in Massachusetts has been. Right now we're at the point where you're going to see the first dispensary open in June, would be my guess. There right now are 3 groups that are approved by the state of Massachusetts to cultivate. One of those groups received their approval back in December 2014, so they are well on their way to having their first harvest. And the word is that they'll have medicine on the shelves next month. So again, as dysfunctional as that program has been, even if the program helps one person, if it improves one person's life, or even saves somebody's life, that's certainly a good thing. So. It's been difficult out there. It's been a disaster for the last year and a half, but it's all heading in the right direction. Some big changes have happened this year. Massachusetts is going to open up for another round of licenses. So
right.
The program to additional groups. They've also streamlined and improved upon their licensing process, which should help the right groups get in and have more of the right groups get in. From what I understand, there are already 20,000 patients that have been certified, which is a great start. Not all of those folks have their final medical marijuana card, but that's a big number, especially for there not being any stores open.
Right. It's bigger than Nevada and Illinois combined.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so a little bit of optimism for Massachusetts, and I know you just told me before we started this that you're helping a group with a bid in New York. What do you think of that program? I hear there's 300 applicants for 5 spots, and I'm hearing like huge numbers in escrow, not officially required, but to get the application approved, there's a whisper number that you have to have $20 million in escrow. I don't even know if that's true or not, but what are your thoughts on the New York market?
Sure. Well, the first thing that I could tell you about New York is the number that you quoted, 300 applicants. That was a number that was from a story in the New York Post, which is, of course, more of a...
Read it at your own caution.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that anybody has any information on how many people or groups are going to apply for licenses, it's really just anybody's best guess. I would be surprised if there were 300 groups applying. I think if there were 100 groups, I'd be impressed. But certainly, Alan, probably in 2 weeks, probably in less than 2 weeks, there will be a story out from the state of New York with that exact number. And
right, they're due June 7th. The applications. Right.
Friday, June 5th, they're due. Yep.
5th. That's right. Right.
It's another difficult program. I could tell you this, that the application in New York is probably the most, it's a beast. It's a very thorough application. They want to see the entire operation outlined, including full operational policies for cultivation, manufacture of products, and dispensary. The state is going to issue 5 licenses, and one of these licenses is going to be good for cultivation, infused products manufacturing, and up to 4 dispensaries. So
right, it looks just like the Minnesota program in a lot of ways.
It is a lot like Minnesota in a lot of ways. And one thing to remember is right now New York State has a $1 billion plus marijuana industry, billion with a B. And sometimes I wonder, do the politicians think if they don't address that somehow it doesn't exist? It's out there. The industry is there.
You're talking about the black market.
Talking about the black market. So, if the state of New York was serious about eliminating the black market, clearly they should have put forth a better medical program. But again, we're talking about stepping stones. Is the New York program good? No, it's not. But it'll certainly help patients. It'll certainly save lives. So in that regard, it's a wonderful stepping stone.
Do you think, before we move on to one last East Coast state, do you think that anybody that ends up with one of these licenses can make money without either an improvement in the program in terms of types of cannabis or patient access, or a move towards legalization? In other words, are these people doing this just because they want to get a toe in what could be a huge legal market?
Sure. I think people certainly have an eye on the future. Having one of these early licenses is certainly going to give you a leg up further down the road. Do people, can this initial program be profitable for a business? It certainly can, under proper scale and just proper business practices. Although I think it's going to be tough. If you were to go in and invest, the full $10 to $20 million the first year, I think you'd be hard pressed to be profitable.
Yep.
But I think if you scale responsibly, you could certainly have a reasonable business in New York.
Okay. Let's go to one last East Coast state, which I don't hear a lot of people talking about, so I'm glad to hear you have some interest in it, Maryland. What's going on there?
Yeah, Maryland's a great program. Their bill has been passed. The regulations, although they're not 100% officially final, the word is they probably will not be changed, and they should be made official and final in the next month or so. The word is that there will be an application that comes out late summer. And the application may be due late summer or early fall. The state of Maryland is going to allow for 15 cultivation facilities, somewhere between 80 and 90 dispensaries, and as yet undetermined number of processing infused products manufacturing facilities. Patient qualifying conditions are very reasonable. And what's great about Maryland is they are going to allow for out-of-state residents to come in and get a medical marijuana card. So you have all these people in Washington, D.C., and Virginia, and other states right across the border. They could literally, drive a half hour into Maryland and become a medical marijuana patient. So
except they can't drive home without breaking federal law.
That is true. But
okay.
I think it's still going to be a wonderful program for people in that part of the country and the people of Maryland.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. 15, so it sounds like, unlike Nevada, they're really limiting the production side.
Yeah, it's funny. Nevada would have limited production too, but their law, when they passed it, was only specific to limiting dispensaries.
Right.
So, maybe, I don't know what the reasoning was. Perhaps Nevada was following all of the political firestorm in Massachusetts with their limited licenses, and maybe they decided they would make their lives easier by giving a cultivation license to everyone, and let the strong survive. Which, and I'm a big fan of that. I don't think there should be limits. I think they should treat this like any other business and let the cream rise to the top. And certainly competition. Like here in Colorado, where we have so many of these, businesses, competition breeds innovation, and it drives people to excellence.
So, well, let's end up our conversation with your home state. It's your current home state. Our listeners probably don't know you're actually from the East Coast, but Colorado. You've been in this business since '09, and I guess you started Canna Advisors in 2012. So you have a great vantage. What's going on in Colorado these days this should be of interest to people?
Sure. Well, the Colorado market continues to be fluid. Although we have well over 1,000 cultivation facilities, hundreds of infused product manufacturing facilities, and hundreds of dispensaries, we in Colorado continue to pass laws to change regulation and try to improve upon things. One of the latest bills to go through the state is a bill to make it easier for out-of-state residents to become owners and investors. We were all very optimistic about that until the final bill was passed, and it didn't really change a whole lot, but it still makes it possible for out-of-state folks to have their name on a license in a limited way.
I see. That is a big problem, I think, for the overall industry, because Colorado is the most advanced state in many regards, and unfortunately for it's all the equities in Colorado, and it's really a kind of disappointing, especially for someone focused on the public stocks like I am. It really locks out investment for those outside of Colorado, which is bad, but I think it also maybe hurts the industry in terms of its ability to raise capital.
Yeah, I think it would be better if it was just a wide open market in terms of an investment. Although, I don't even know if I've mentioned this, Ellen, but I am again building my own facility here in Colorado.
Sure, yeah, right on I-70.
We're able to bring in out-of-state money, but we just need to be thoughtful into where that goes. And the state of Colorado is perfectly fine with out-of-state money going into the real estate side.
Right. Correct.
In terms of property, buildings, the infrastructure. So that still exists.
And also debt capital can come in as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, biggest issue that we've seen here that's been raising a lot of eyebrows is the state and some of the local municipalities are finally, and this is the right thing to do, finally cracking down on a lot of these cultivation facilities, their use of some very dangerous pesticides and herbicides. There's been a number of large operations that have had their entire crops quarantined, if not destroyed. So we see that as a much needed and welcome improvement to the industry here.
And so if you don't know about this or don't want to address it, just let me know. I'm asking this out of the blue, but there was recently an issue with StrainWise. Are you up on that in terms of what's going on with their licensing?
I know Sean at StrainWise. I met him a few years ago. Thought he was a good guy. Haven't talked to him since, so I don't know what they've been through over the last few years.
Yeah, no. Recently, so they created a public company vehicle to act like as a consultant, providing a lot of services. Let's say a service provider to their grow facilities. But I don't quite understand the story. Let's drop it since you're not up with it anyway. But I wanted to wrap up with one last observation, because before we started this, you were talking about Surna, and I thought you had some interesting insight there. So let's wrap up this awesome conversation with just your observations about what's going on in your hometown with Surna.
Sure. I don't follow too many of the cannabis public companies, but Surna's just down the road from me. I have a lot of respect for a lot of the folks there. I was just over there this morning because I'm working with those guys on a joint presentation that we're going to deliver at the NCIA National Conference in Denver at the end of June. But, people ask me sometimes, what's up with Surna? Are they a real company? And my typical response is, you need to go over there and pay them a visit. When you want to talk about a real company, they continue to grow and grow and grow, where at this point they're taking up an entire building that they only had a small piece of a year ago. They have shipping containers out back filled with equipment and parts. They're just busting at the seams. They are selling systems. They are delivering on those deals and installing systems. They're looking to take over the building next door at this point. They got it going on. They probably have it going on more than, I'll go out on a limb here, any of the other public companies that I've been aware of.
That's a low bar. Well, I'll ask you a tough question then. Do you talk to your clients about their products?
Do I talk to my clients about Surna products?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, good. Okay.
Most of, especially if we're doing an indoor warehouse project, it's a Surna system.
Right. Cool.
So we're using Surna.
And, one of the big pushbacks I hear on that company is LEDs are going to just put them out of business, which I think fails to take into account that Surna will have other types of offerings. But do you have a view on the LED market?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is LEDs still have a ways to go. They just do. And the other common misconception is that by some magical reason, LEDs don't generate heat. The absolute best LED fixture that I've come across lately, which is supposed to be the best of the best, could generate an equal amount of light to an HD bulb, but only uses 60% of the energy.
Right.
Which means it's still generating 60% of the heat. So let's say that you have a large facility running on LED lighting. Well, maybe if it was high-pressure sodium lighting, you would need 500 tons of cooling. With LED lighting, you still need 300 tons of cooling. So it reduces the amount of heat load that you have to account for, but it by no means eliminates it completely.
Got it. Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time. I'd love to listen to you at NCIA, but they unfortunately pitted us against each other. I think we're speaking at the same time on July 1st. But I'm looking forward to seeing you when I'm out there, and I appreciate you taking the time today, Jay.
Ellen, I look forward to seeing you too.
Okay, take it easy. All right, thanks.